So would you please welcome to the stage Mr. Daniel Davey and Mark Tapscott of Longbow Motor Car Company. Can I please have your applause? Thank you. It's all yours, gentlemen.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Roger. So we're going to talk to you about the speed of lightness, or moving at the speed of lightness. We believe the future of the automotive industry is a future that's defined by lightweightedness, not by heavy-weightedness. The market, the industry, companies, products are moving towards a heavyweight future, which is only a good thing if you're a boxer. It is not a good thing for automotive companies or for products.
And we feel this is almost like a pandemic that's crept up on us over the last 20, 30 or so years. And it's something that if it happened overnight, we'd probably have recognized it. But actually, when you look at the example we've got here, today, a Mini has about the same footprint and size as a 1980s Range Rover. And that's happened over that time without us even really noticing.
Who are we? Heavyweight and lightweight. So, Daniel Davey, I started my career at Tesla 2010 with the Tesla Roadster. So I've been in electrification for 15 years now, including companies like Uber. Tesla will launch a Model 3, as well as Lucid Motors as the first employee outside of North America.
I started off my career building and designing lightweight racing cars, and then went on through Tesla, Lucid, BYD, and several other manufacturers as well. So I have that experience in launching EV brands, but also from engineering lightweight sports cars. The rest of the world, especially in technology, seems to have gone from large, complex, expensive, to smaller, lightweight, more complicated inside, but giving a better customer experience.
Anyone have a guess how much a 1985 M5 weighed and cost? I'll spare you. 1,500 kilograms was the weight. The cost, adjusted for inflation, was $90,000. Today, an M5 is $160,000, and it weighs 2.5 tons. So every other industry, big, heavy, and now small, light, and better. Automotive, much heavier and much more expensive.
So what does that mean? Well, we see it on our roads and streets today, and it has an impact not only on the vehicles we drive, but also on our urban environment. Think about the size that roads now need to be to accommodate the extra width of the vehicles. Think about maybe car parking spaces that we have. Safety for pedestrians using those roads as well. This extra weight that we've seen is also extra size, and it has an impact on how we live our lives today.
And it's not just the products. We talked about it before, heavyweight companies. So we're fortunate that we've worked for relatively lightweight companies in the form of Tesla and Lucid, but the automotive companies themselves are larger. So think all these different layers that you're adding into the company to manage the additional weight of the cars. Already new companies are better, but even there's a lot of weight that you can shave off of even companies like Tesla and Lucid.
So when you add weight to vehicles, it does many, many things, of course. Most importantly, we believe, is it changes the experience of driving. So that dynamics, the way that driving, often people say the way driving used to feel, has been lost by adding this additional weight. But also, of course, adding weight means that vehicles can be less safe in a way. There's much longer stopping distance. You have to put more energy and power into making them move as quickly as they do today. And of course, all of the extra materials that go into these vehicles, again, has a significant impact on the cars we drive.
You can't beat physics. Physics are absolutes. So when things get heavier, you have to compensate. So the definitive sports car, performance vehicles, if you add more power, you get faster in the straights. If you add lightness, you get faster everywhere. It's still true today, as it was 50 years ago, as it will be 2,000 years in the future, because it's grounded in the fundamental laws of physics. So if you want to build the best sports car, you have to add lightness. You can't add weight or power. But fundamentally, the entire sports car, hypercar industry is adding weight and power. You are trying to trick the laws of physics, but they are immutable. So if you focus on lightweightedness, you are driving a better product always, 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 because it's grounded in physics.
And it's not just sports cars or passenger vehicles that lightweighting can impact, of course. Just outside, we've got a flying vehicle. the importance of lightweightedness, especially if anyone's touched one of the rotors out there or seen the amount of carbon fiber that's being used, it's important for all vehicles because it adds that efficiency. And the work that we're doing right now, directed at sports cars, the platform at least can be used across a whole range of vehicles all the way up through until light commercial vehicles.
And it's not new. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel or look for some future technology that doesn't exist. The sports car that changed the industry, the Tesla Roadster, weighed 1.3 tons. That was more than 15 years ago. The only other sports car represented here, and the only other electric sports car in the world currently, is outside, and it weighs 2 tons. So 17 years of development is a car that weighs 700 kilograms more than this car that had a better 0 to 60 time and a better range. So that doesn't feel like progress. So all we need to do is learn from the lessons of the past when we're looking at how we should build sports cars and the automotive industry for the future.
There's only a few of you in the audience, but who wants a car that can swim? I don't believe you.
Who needs a car that has something in the car talking to them?
Right? So what seems to have happened is we have large marketing teams within automotive that come up with these great ideas about what cars should do, what they think people want in their vehicles. And of course, there's the old saying, if you asked people a while ago what they want, it was a faster horse. We think that actually by choosing the right direction for vehicles is what customers are looking for today.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to a fine restaurant, you're not given a list of 1,000 ingredients and decide what you're going to get. You have a curated menu. You have experts who know what the best flavors are, what you want, maybe even something you didn't even know existed before because you're not a savant in culinary experiences. And the same is true for cars. We firmly believe that. So yes, you need freedom of expression. You need people to be able to have differentiation within their product because people have different needs. But having a list of 10,000 additional options, which gives you 1 billion different combinations, adds weight. It adds weight in the number of people to manage those products. It adds weight in your supply chain. It adds weight in your aftermarket, your after service. That adds layers in your company. It adds costs. All these things have an unintended consequence, but the reason they're done is for profit, not because it's the right thing for drivers or what's better for drivers.
But there is hope. So, one of our ex-employees, Tesla, recently led the way in changing from a 12-volt system to 48 volts, which made a huge difference. It was a very complex thing for them to do, of course, and a big change for the industry. But it is making a difference. And another great example that we're seeing is from Rivian. So their first version of the vehicle had these 17 unique ECUs around the vehicle. And then their second generation vehicle, they brought that down to just 7. Now, that may not sound significant, but when you look at the amount of cabling that goes into that, they lost over 20 kilos just in copper, about 1.6 miles worth of cable just in reducing that number of ECUs down. They haven't lost any of the functionality within that vehicle. In fact, they have gained some, but it's that focus, that dedication to lightweightedness and what that can mean for the vehicle. Another
Example of lightweight thinking from Tesla. Tesla's standard color now is white. The white paint used to be a 2,500 euro option that Tesla would add. Anyone know why they switched from red paint to white paint? The reason is, when you deliver a car with white paint, the scratches are less visible. So you have less rejected deliveries. So Tesla figured out, someone in the business very quickly changed the entire company to the standard color being white, so that Tesla had less rejected deliveries when they started scaling up Model 3. That's good thinking. Bad thinking is you didn't solve the scratch problem, right? Because you're not customer-focused, you're not driver-focused, you're not driver-centric. So yes, solve the problem downstream, but maybe upstream fix the scratches, right? So lightweight thinking can be good, but even companies like Tesla have a lot of room for improvement. And that's where other companies we work for, so Lucid, for example, I started there, first employee outside of North America. It was just me and a laptop. And within 2 years, we launched across 5 countries and 2 continents in EMEA with multiple product lines in multiple areas. And that was with a team of under 100 people. Right? You're able to build lightweight companies and do incredible things because we weren't bloated. We didn't have to rely on multiple hierarchies to get things done. And so, in particular in this region, having experience in North America, then in Europe, and then in this region, there's so much we can learn from how businesses here operate And conversely, this region can learn a lot from how businesses in the US and in Europe operate as well. So building a global knowledge pool of how to operate is also critical for the success of future companies and products as well.
We're really happy, of course, to be here today in Abu Dhabi, and I think this nation has moved very, very quickly. We can see that, of course, in construction. But another one, Saudi Arabia, is a great example when you bring this region together with the East. I think most of us are aware now that China is dominating in many areas of EV especially, and I would post that that's due to the speed at which they operate. And in fact, when I was fortunate enough to launch BYD with some of my colleagues in the audience here, in fact, that they had a saying which is the fast fish beats the slow fish. It's no longer the big fish eating the small. And BYD, through Al-Futtaim, were able to launch the whole company in Saudi Arabia, signing a deal at the end of December, and then within 3 months was launched across 3 different cities, 7 different locations, and then delivering vehicles just a few weeks later. So fast fish beating the slow fish also meant a very agile organization, so a lightweight company behind what was happening to make that so fast. So we've taken a lot of what we've learned from Lucid, Tesla, BYD, other companies that we've worked within, and we take the best of that and put that into what we're doing now, and that gives us something that is very non-traditional. So we have, of course, been asked a number of times, how are you going to be able to do something that nobody else has done before, certainly not in recent history, and approach. We approach things in a different way, and probably one of the best examples, and why we have the model with us here today, is that our car, unlike most others, was built almost entirely in virtual reality within a very short period of time. Where most vehicles would take probably a 3-year period or so, we managed to compress that significantly because we also combined both our design teams with our engineering and had a much smaller marketing team to decide whether this car needed to swim across rivers or not. And that's how we can produce a car much, much quicker.
So we don't present you with a list of ingredients. We present you with a curated dish. So this is the Speedster on the left and the Longbow Roadster on the right. These are our vehicles. We will be starting to deliver these vehicles in 2026. The Speedster weighs 895 kilograms. So it is by far and away the lightest electric vehicle on the market, apart from Formula E. And that's because of all the approaches we've talked to have delivered the product. But as a company, bringing a vehicle to market in a radically different way allows us to do it faster at a much lower cost with, we think, a better output.
And we're not just building 2 sports cars. Our mission is to change how the Earth feels about sports cars. But to do that, we have to also create a whole new segment of the industry, the featherweight electric vehicle. And that's why today we're talking to you about the importance of lightweightedness.
And it's not just pretty pictures. So when we look at the sports car segment, His Excellency on Monday talked about a 25% penetration of electric and hybrid vehicles within the UAE, which is great. I suspect in sports cars, that's probably 1%. Because the only sports car you can buy on the planet that costs anywhere between $60,000 and $250,000 is currently the MG Cyberster, despite it being a $16 billion market with over 250,000 units sold globally. No one else is entering the space. We will put 4 products in this space over the next 4 years. So it's a wide open field in a market that we all agree is moving very aggressively towards full electrification.
Building the car is one thing. But we've talked about the importance of having a company that addresses the same lightweightedness behind it. So the way that we are building Longbow, we like to think of it more as a film studio, almost, where a film studio doesn't own all of the actors, doesn't have all of the camera crew and everyone else within it all of the time. What they do is they bring the best people from the industry into a setting. They create a wonderful piece of art, the film, and then they release it, and then those people go off and they learn additional skills, doing additional movies, and then come back again, perhaps, to build the next film together. And that's what we're doing with Longbow. So where we can go and call upon what we believe to be the best engineers in lightweighting, we can call upon the best in marketing, bring them together, and execute in this way. And that's how we also have a CapEx light model.
And again, the Roadster is a product, so let the definition of the vehicle speak for itself. So we don't have a car that does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds or 1.3 seconds because of rocket boosters, because you simply do not need that. When a car weighs this little and when it does 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, trust me, that is a car you'll want to drive. You will feel the difference of the lightweightedness. But by doing that, it's lighter, it's easier, it's quicker to build, it needs less battery power, it needs less motors. So when you curate your product definition, don't ask people what they want, you get a better output, you get it quicker, and you get it at a price that's affordable, right? We're not talking about a $1 million hypercar here, we're talking about a car that sits in the largest segment for sports cars globally.
There have been many times when Daniel and I have talked about this over the last 3, 4, 5, maybe even longer years, wondering, are we the only ones? Are we going a little bit mad here with all of this? So we were really humbled, very fortunate when Top Gear picked up on what we were doing, and a little over a month ago released our secret master plan, effectively, of building these vehicles. And since then, I think we've been very fortunate to realize that actually this is what the market has been asking for. We're lucky to have a lot of reservations for our vehicles now, picked up with about 4 million different customers. We've got 90 or so publications now running this. And the overwhelming response, once we've stuck it through some AI, is we've learned that it's not actually the lack of sound or how fast the car is or what it does that people are so excited about. It's specifically its weight. I think people are realizing that this extra weight that we've adopted now, especially in vehicles that are meant to be fun and compelling, is actually killing that fun and compelling nature of driving. So having something lightweight is actually what people are wanting.
And that's the end of our lightweight presentation. So we now have time back to you to ask us questions.
Thank you very much. Can we show our appreciation, please, to Daniel and Mark? Wow, I've got to come on the stage and shake your hands. Thank you. Do you know what? Having been in the auto industry myself for 40 years, I can tell you that the audacity of hope, having a vision and mission and purpose, and having that courage to try new things, ain't for the faint-hearted. You have to have some kind of, I hope you don't mind me saying it, weirdness about you to even try to do this. But oh my goodness, this is so pretty. You're going to be making beautiful, pretty cars. Do we have any questions? I've got a few, but okay, gentleman at the back there, please, if we could let him have a microphone. Thank you.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
Hey, can you expand on the cost exercise? Because the price that you quoted, the Roadster, I think it's 65, you said, right? Or
Yeah, £65,000, yeah.
Yeah. Can you please expand on that? Because, you know, my assumption, of course, you correct me, less parts are probably whatever way you're doing the lightweighting, is it benefiting you in a way that making it cheaper or materials cutting you the cost or whatever? So.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So fundamentally, if something weighs half as much, it has half as much in it, quite simply, right? So if you just look at bill of materials from a weight perspective, exterior, chassis, all of that can add up very quickly to a cost saving. But I think it's also how you define, we talked about what do you need in a car. So when we look at a car, a Roadster, if a product requirement is it must be able to drive across the Yangtze, you can't do it for £65,000, right? So actually it's looking at what should be in there and what shouldn't be in there. So as a car, it's an elemental driving experience. It doesn't have four-wheel drive at that price, right? It's rear-wheel drive. It doesn't have it doesn't have level 5 autonomy at that price, right? So there are so many things that are added into vehicles that drive cost up that we remove to bring the cost down. And of course, we'll have options in there that allow people to have a flourish of individuality, which will drive the cost up a bit, but it's curating it. That's how you arrive at that price.
That's really
And the other thing I'd say, I know you've said it yourselves, but having the pedigree, the experience of, and sometimes, let's be frank, traumatic experience of that journey with Tesla, perhaps less traumatic with Lucid, but nonetheless, you know, you've got the chops. You've been there, you know, you've had that time-served apprenticeship, if you like. So that's good. Have we got any other questions yet? One at the back there,
sorry,
and one at the front here. Yep.
If you don't mind, a follow-up question.
Sorry. Can you do that after? I just want to give two more questions. Is that okay? Just to try and
you can catch us afterwards. It's fine.
Yeah, you grab them afterwards.
Hi, my name is Christian. Thanks for the presentation. Much appreciate your approach. Just curious, you know, as a small startup as you will be, how you would like to, you know, manage all the regulations that are around the world, or your full focus, the distribution of that model in the European market or on a worldwide scale. So you know, I'm coming from the automotive industry and knowing that even big manufacturers are having challenges working with the complexity and regulations that are out there. Just would like to understand if you have already a plan or, you know, a launch plan where you will start with your distribution.
Yeah, absolutely. Two sides to it. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Was that question also, when can I buy one?
That would, I think 2026 he said already, so...
Okay, right.
I think where to buy, I think this is more the question, you know.
Yeah.
One of the benefits, of course, of being a small volume manufacturer means that there are different targets that you set for the vehicle that allow us to deliver those cars in Europe. Of course, there are a different set of requirements then when you move to North America as well. So first of all, we are starting with the Speedster. There's a very clear reason for that. First of all, it is the car that I think puts a flag in the ground for saying this is something hopefully very cool, sexy, people like. It's usually the pinnacle of most vehicle manufacturers when they make a Speedster. And it also gives the most visceral driving experience. And with that sort of viscerality in the driving experience also means that we can pare back on some of the other features or functions that you would maybe expect in a large SUV. So we target this vehicle segment so that we launch with something people like, but also reduce what goes into the car. Only 150 of these will be made as well. Then when we move into our series production, so into the Roadster that will follow in 2027, that's when, of course, those considerations need to come into a little bit of a deeper level.
Okay, thank you. We do have time. One more question at the back there.
Hi there, yeah. I just wanted to say, it seems like a lot of your methodology is rooted in motorsport. You had a picture of Colin Chapman up there. Are you guys planning any sort of motorsport application for this? Because it looks bloody fun to drive.
Good question.
In terms of how we're building the car, especially, we are definitely leaning on motorsport. So we think, despite everything perhaps that's going on, certainly in the media around the UK, Great Britain is still the best place you could probably build a lightweight electric sports car. The team that exists there in terms of the talent from Formula E, Formula One, most of the teams are all based there, of course, at Motorsport Valley. That it is a great place to build it, and because of the supply chain there, with supplying all of those other racing car teams, we can use that supply chain and that method of manufacturing, so a cell-type manufacturing for the vehicle.
Yeah, great question. Okay, we've run out of time. I'm really sorry. I know there would be more questions, but you can grab Daniel or Mark later, either here or obviously online. There's a website, I guess, and all the rest of that.